Anyways, man, this thing about love is the way I think we understand love in today's world. Um, all kinds of love, in a way, is the way that you make me feel. That's it. You know, I love you because of the way you make me feel. You make me feel special. I love you. You know, and if you don't make me feel special or you don't, whatever, then I don't love you, right? Then actually I hate you, type of thing. It's so self-indulgent. It's not about like, um, how do I make you feel, type of thing. How am I involved? What value? What am I doing in your life? What do I mean to you? And I'm I'm dedicated to working on being the best version of myself to you, to giving me the best of who I am to you, right? In that way, just as much as you would do the same for me. And that's what love is. Love is not is a connection, is a an energy, is an exchange, is a trade. It's a bridge that you build between two people, right? I'm just working with people now, in a sense. But like, it's hard to love, to create a bridge between you and something else when that something is abusive or is incapable of building that bridge, incapable of earning your trust or giving back to you or something or other, I mean, like it's very hard to love a fish. Uh, it's easier to love a dog. The dog gives you loyalty, it gives you love, it gives you affection, right? It will protect you. It will put its own life on the line, in order to save yours, and whatever it is. And so there's an exchange, and the level of that exchange, the quality of that exchange, the degree of that exchange is the depth of your love that you share, right? So that's what I think love is, and what we see as love today is really, uh, this is how you make me feel, okay? You make me feel, and it's not terrible then necessarily, but like I'm saying, it's only one way. It's only one way. And we don't understand that it's a two-way street. And so what I'm saying, when people say that they love somebody, I love you, right? It's an incomplete love, right? A lot of the time it's just an infatuation or it's a codependency, you see, uh, if you ask me. And yeah, so the thing is that I think people like ourselves, in a way, are by nature, by default, just loving, right? We adore the other person's divinity, right? The other person's sensitivity, their wisdom, right? Their courage, their weaknesses, or whatever it is. Because they represent ourselves in a way, right? But the qualities that we have ourselves, first and foremost, we can recognize, because you can't really love someone if you can't recognize your own inequalities, right? That you can see their qualities, but you just, and what they represent. Because when we represent our divine self, if you will, then that that turns each other on, if you will. You know, um, it's like watching a sunset or something in nature, being under a waterfall, or hearing a trumpet or a violin or something or other, hearing a poem. It's the transcendental, right? That we see in each other. It's the beyond time and space that we represent. It's the mystery. It's uh, the allure of the unknown. But not even that. Just the feeling of home, if you want to put it. Okay. And that's what we see, like when we look at a baby, look at a child, a small newborn baby. I mean, it's just so delicious, It's just so, breathtaking. Okay, it's I don't know, man, monumental in a way, and it represents so much. It symbolizes so much, and I think babies are supposed to be that adorable for those narcissistic or whatever, some people who would just still love them anyways because just on how cute they are and how simple they are and how just anyway their features, their nature, their smell, their innocence, their tiny little hands, the way that they smile and grin and even cry and whatever it is, just their curiosity and you just see that and untethered, unaffected so far by, the cruel joke of life, let's just say, or its conditioning or propaganda. I mean, programming or whatever it is, and you see that, and it's just beautiful. It's like also like in a puppy, it's just so adorable. It's just the innocence there, captivating. Just the potential that's there. So it represents something. It represents a higher divine, space or place or something or other. And so when we recognize that in one another, we fall in love, and that's what I think. I think that's what we're doing, and so we honor and we respect and we pay tribute and we respect. We respect the sacredness of one another. You know, we honor it and we protect it, and we work towards that coming out in one another. We support each other for the divine being, if you want to call it, or whatever, the higher self, the authentic self, the real self, the soul, the spirit, whatever it might be, to be more further activated, to be further potentialized within the person. And we support them and we care for them. And we do that for one another. And and it's a must. And in that way, we just keep on perfecting one another because through my sensitivity to yours or one's being, pain, suffering, struggle, joys, in my sensitivities, right? And not my bruteness and my kindness, because I don't think that we can really, how do I put it? I was watching something. I don't know if I mentioned to you. Uh, watch this thing on TLC, okay, um, which I can barely manage to get through most of the episodes. I mean, I don't really watch it. If the TV's on in the house and I walk past and I'll just see the situation going on. I can't stomach it really, most of it, but it's just so interesting from a psychological level, on how people operate, and it's just so telling. It's just so much going on there, and it just really shows me about, more about where people are holding and the persona and etc. You know, so I was watching this one scene. I mean, this is probably all I watched of it for 5 minutes, where the one woman's pregnant. She must be in her mid-30s maybe, and her sister, she's speaking to her sister on Skype. I think her sister's in the USA and she's in the Ukraine with her boyfriend, who is father of the baby, and they haven't really, I think she fell pregnant by mistake. It wasn't planned, unplanned pregnancy, and now she's going to have a Caesar in 4 days' time. So she's speaking to her sister, and all her sister is doing is just really saying to her, do you really want to be having the baby in Russia? I mean, you can't speak the language, you know. And she's like, I'll manage. And she says, but it would have been much better idea if, and I thought to myself, what the hell is this sister doing here? What is going on here? Like this is creating massive anxiety. It isn't, as you are probably thinking, it's too late for her to now fly back to the USA. It's already done. She's already made a decision. And she's like, well, maybe you got to learn the Russian terminology, or whatever, the words for like how to say this or how to say that. And so she says to sister, you're being dramatic. She says, no, I don't think I'm being dramatic at all. I'm saying this because I care for you, and I want this to go smoothly for you. And I'm like thinking, no, 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 you're not. You are actually getting pleasure of your own from your sister's pain, who's already in labor. I mean, who's already pregnant, and it carries on. And she's like, so how are things going with the baby daddy? When I hear those words, baby daddy, it's like the children. How are the things going with the baby daddy? And so he says, I think it's okay. She says, what do you mean you think it's okay? You've had this and this long to get things right. I thought everything was going right. How are you going to manage to have this baby and be in the Ukraine, be in Russia, where did I say? Or whatever it is. You can't speak the language. You can't. You don't even know if you can trust him. There's a one-night stand. You fell pregnant. You haven't got your ducks in a row. And she's just going on and on and on. All of a sudden, the pregnant woman, she says, I'm sorry, says to my sister, I have to cut off the conversation. I'm feeling dizzy. I think there's something wrong. And the sister says, all right, I'll speak to you later. Bye, I love you. That was it, man. That was it. And I thought to myself, you know why the sister's feeling dizzy? Because she's having anxiety. Because she's having an anxiety attack brought on by her dear, loving sister. You know, and that was that. So this is just one scene, literally. I mean, I only could stomach 5 minutes of it, but that just says so much in that one little scene. And yes, you can maybe say it's scripted, whatever it is, but a lot of it didn't feel scripted. And I've seen this kind of behavior before, where out of so-called love, in these loving relationships, the person does more harm than good, gives their advice, harmful advice, unhealthy advice. They don't give support. They will say, like in this case with her sister, that I'm giving you support, but it's got nothing to do with support. It's just got to do with my sense of entitlement, of I'm able to tell you what to do, and you're making a mess up of your life. And I feel better about, about myself by telling you that you're a screw up. You see? So I'm empowering myself. Oh, the most sickening, the most sickening. You say, but now, you've caused, I mean, not only that, but like, let's say you've caused your pregnant sister, right, anxiety, stress, right? This is not healthy for the baby, and not only that, but you're being completely useless. You're doing more harm than good. But you are under the premise, you are under the impression that what you are doing is loving. It's the same thing here that we're doing with the mask story, like enforcing each other to wear a mask. Yes, it's for people believe for their own protection, but more so for your own, right? People feel obliged to tell you where to stand and whatever it is for their protection, yes, but mostly for your own, you know, type of thing. When I go to the airport, it's like, help us save you by you saving us, or something like that, right? And that's what we've kind of gotten into in this world that we are in. Um, so yeah, man. How do we define love? And well, coming back to that, and most of the love that we have today is not just one way and superficial love, but it's toxic love. It's false love. And I think Tessorian once said, some of the worst forms of you know is of love is false love. Rather have no love than false love. Sorry, coming back, like this idea that the government really cares about you, by telling you to wash your hands and all these things, and protect you from this so-called virus and whatever it is, and it really cares about you, and that's the biggest, that's one of the biggest plagues that are going on right now. The real virus is false love, is false concern. I'm doing this for your well-being. I'm doing this for you because I care so much about you, right? And trying to inform the person that what they are doing is not really caring about them, but actually controlling them and using them as a as to empower themselves by feeling bigger than and whatever it might be, like the sister. her pregnant sister. It's like, well, I got one up on her now. I mean, and I've had this. I've had this with my own brother. I've had this with my own brother when I've really been feeling very, very anxious and nervous, and really I didn't sleep the night before. And because he was going to look at what job I could possibly do at his office, well, from my father's office, and he was also working there. And he saw what a desperate state I was in, and all he could do was just make it worse for me. Just like sort of being insensitive about it and saying, "Yo, we're going to take a long drive today, and I hope you're going to handle it." And I was like, "No, I can't handle that. And can't we do something else?" "No, no, no, you got to toughen up, my man," and whatever it is. And I can't remember what else it was, but it was horrific. And that was under the guise of, again, I care for you and I love you and whatever it is. And so, very, very, very dangerous. Yeah. So I don't know, man. Real love, it's like, in real love, you never do that. You're healthy enough, obviously. You can't have real love without being healthy yourself, without loving oneself, without taking care of oneself, right? It's just not possible, because all of it's just going to be codependent love, right? It's going to be that you have to inform me about my value. That's the relationship here. That's the deal we got going here, you know, and and the deception that we got going on here as well. Force you to play a character that is impressed by me, that loves me, that worships me and adores me, and just sees me as only as my virtues and my skills, my talents, but nothing of my shortcomings. I mean, that's a relationship that most of us have with our with our parents growing up. So any way we could probably have more of a relationship was that, oh, I'll only see your goodness, your virtues. You're the best dad in the world. You're the best mom in the world. You'll never do this, and you only do things that for my own well-being and because you love me. You know. And so what happened was we had a falsified relationship with them. Right? It was like, I won't see all your negative points. I won't see how you lie to me, how you betray me, how you abandon me. I won't honor how I'm feeling. I won't see what you're doing, uh, whatever it is. And as a child, the innocence of a child's eye, the child can see a lot of things. It's very obvious to children when things are not true. I'm saying, at a younger age, obviously. And as a child, you have to, suppress all of that and whatever it is. And I mean, I remember with my mother, I had to go to another school than my brother's because I got kicked out of that school. And so I had to go to a school that was, a 15-minute drive in the other direction from where she picks up my brothers. And she would come late to pick me up, and then she would shout at me and say, "Don't give me a hard time for picking you up late. It's not my fault you have to go to a different school," type of thing. So it's like, don't make me feel bad. You feel bad, so I don't have to feel bad, type of thing, you know? And that's how it was. Let's say, I'm just saying hypothetically, you have a mother who's bipolar, and when the highs are high, she wants you to be high with her and happy and positive, and when she's low, she wants you to be low with her as well. She wants that kind of company, she wants that kind of commitment and obedience, and the loyalty, if you will. So it's a self-sacrifice. That's what this kind of love is, the false love that we talk about in the world, is actually self-sacrifice. Okay? And you see, the thing is that one can't imitate, you can't imitate love. You can't, it's a very powerful thing. And if you're not doing it right, if you fake it, right, it's disastrous, it's hazardous. It's not like, there's no generic to love, the real love type of thing, right? I mean, it's either love or it's dysfunctional, dangerous, toxic, pathological, whatever it is. There's no in between, right? It's like, I don't know, something that there is no middle ground. In a way, maybe think of milk. You know, milk's, when it's off, it's off. But I mean, it is sometimes, as they say, close to or 5-2. So it's almost off. So there is variations of it. But with real love, um, it's it's non-toxic. False love is completely toxic. Okay, and again, what Soren is saying, just now thinking about that, it even rings more so truth to be, that the fact that false love is more dangerous than probably anything in the world, I reckon. I'd imagine. Yeah. So, because false love is control, right? False love is control. Anyway, so what was I saying? The fact that how we compromise, and we don't point out each other's weaknesses, and that's the game in town. I won't point out your weaknesses, you won't point out mine, my shortcomings, whatever it is, etc., etc. We just don't do that. We do that when we're at war with each other, and um, we just feel like picking a fight, something like that. But it's more than that. Um, yeah. So it's not guaranteed that a parent will love their child. I think biologically, it's probably ingrained in us. Biologically, physiologically, or something like that. But there's no guarantee. I mean, it's mostly it does the rules don't apply just because it's your child that you'll love your child and you'll know not how to pass on all your dysfunctionality, your pathology onto the child, your codependency onto the child. You know, and you see, that's I think one of the hardest things for us to come to terms with in ourselves, right? I really think the shaman, right, or the saint, is somebody who has the eyes to look inwardly. If you ask me, has the eyes to look inwardly and see what's going on internally, the the devils and the angels that lurk within, right? And whatever it is. And so that's the thing, is that like it's very hard when one has been under the idea, let's say with the pregnant sister, or the sister of the pregnant woman in this TLC series, the one that's causing all this anxiety to her sister. It's the furthest thing from her imagination that she's actually being unkind and unloving to her sister. You see, when we act in false love, right? Then we build this narrative, and and actually what we're doing is being poisonous to one another. Okay, poisonous to even our own children, toxic to our own children. But when we've convinced ourselves that we're doing it out of love, right? That's the biggest of dangers, I would say, because it's very, very hard to come to the truth of that in ourselves, that what we've really been doing is harm. You know what I mean? It takes too much, uh, there's too much distance, too much ground to cover between the fact that what you've been doing is harming and not loving. It's too hard, it's too radical, it's too extreme for the persona or the person, let's say, to come to that idea like, hold on a minute, I don't actually, um, I'm actually toxic. Like, I just can't do it. I'm reminded of the movie The Green Beautiful, and there's this woman who comes from another planet. She's a human being, and they're very enlightened there. They're very advanced on the other planet, and she comes down to planet Earth, and she has this ability that if she puts her hands on her head and she looks at a person and she throws her head back, that she's able to snap them out of their sleep, their unconsciousness, their whatever, in their persona. And what happens is that she's visiting a hospital, well, the prenatal, well, no, what's that? Where the babies are born, and because for her she cannot eat human food or food from planet Earth. It's just too toxic. So what she does is at night she takes the newborn babies and sleeps with them on her chest, and that revitalizes her and refuels her. And so what happens is that the doctor in the morning comes in and sees this and says, "Call the police and have this woman arrested and the security and whatever it is." And she's petrified, this woman. So she puts her hands on her head and she looks at him and she throws her head back and yanks him out of his sort of slumber, out of his character, right? And all of a sudden he like realizes that he's a monster, and they call him and they say, "Doctor, doctor, come! You need to deliver this baby. This woman's pregnant." And he's like, "I don't know how to deliver a baby." He says, "I'm a monster." He says, "I cut unnecessarily, Caesar, cesareans." He says, "I pull. He says, "I'm a man. I've never had a child." He says, "I don't know what I'm doing." He says, he looks at the woman. He says, "Tell me, what's it like to give birth?" "Well, I have no idea." So the sister, the nurse says, "Doctor, you've been doing this for like 20 years now. Come on, what do you mean you don't know what's going on?" He says, "I don't understand what birth is. I only, I just, again, I only know how to force. I don't have the sensitivity. I don't, and this is what I'm talking about." So for most people to come to the understanding that what they're doing is actually the opposite of love, and they're actually a monster, and they've been monsters to their own children. Not in this lifetime, man. Not in this lifetime for many, you know, to not at all. And especially now, I think in the society and culture that we live in, I think what we've done is that we've gone so far toxic, so far pathological, so far into the false narrative, right? So far into the the destruction, self-destruction, destruction of everything else. I'm saying we're so deep in it that there is very, very little to no chance that we'll make it, we'll be able to reverse it and come back to true love, if you will, or real love, or just reality in a sense. So now we are the most narcissistic. We're the most self-entitled, right? We are the most confused. I mean, you see what's going on this planet now. How many people are acting out of so-called love for their fellow friend or family or whatever it is by informing them that like certain lives matter. I've got to tell you this and you have to believe it type of thing. Or like, um, uh, you have to eat this healthy diet and you have to go vegan. And you say, well, that does sound loving and they're very caring, whatever it is, but a lot of the time it's just control. A lot of the time it's just, a lot of the time it's abuse, not always, but again, when it's not genuine, then it's just abuse. So, yeah, man, just this is what we can expect from people nowadays, the ones that are children of the Matrix, right? They are so confused that even if you try and tell them what's up, even if you try and tell them that, oh, you're not respecting me, or it's just a game, I can't play this game with you anymore, or like you're too top. Like, firstly, how are you even going to rationalize with them? How are you even going to have you can't. How are you going to have a conversation with them? How are you going to bring this up, man? How are you going to address it with them? Because as soon as you do, firstly, they just think you're absolutely off the wall, right? That you've lost the plot. They're never going to agree with what you're saying, and I almost mean never in this lifetime again, because there's so much support for them not to be able to see the ills of their ways. There's no real leadership or real models or role models out there talking about it. It's not on the movies. It's not being done by presidents or any kind of, you know what I'm saying? It's not popular at all. In fact, it's the absolute opposite of popular. It's heresy. What is supported is narcissism, etc. So when they look at it, and you've got no chance. You don't speak the same. Not even. It's not even just the same language. You're just not living on the same planet. You're just not living on the same planet as these people, right? And we've got to appreciate that, you know. And and no matter how much we actually think we're going to show them how much you've hurt me, how much you've betrayed me, how much you've lied to me, what you've done to me, how much pain you caused, they won't see it. And so what we're doing is causing even more harm to ourselves by having potentially the expectation of them to see what they are doing to us and them actually laughing it off. Like, I actually think it's a joke. Like, are you being serious? You think I'm actually going to care? You think I'm at all interested? You're asking me to, I mean, do me a favor, you'll be mocked. I mean, depending on the person. I mean, sometimes they're a little bit polite enough, but, you know, I mean, it's a joke to them. And so what's sacred to us, to you, for them it's just a joke. And that's what even is even more infuriating and even more hurtful. So I think the point is that we we just kind of know what we're dealing with, and pick our battles wisely, and try not to be. It's very hard, but try not to feel um, disrespected by these people because it's not personal to some degree. It's not personal. It's just their nature, man. It's just their nature. They just don't know anything else. It's just how they are. Like, the sun shines, it shines. They're narcissistic, they're self-involved, they're asleep. It's just how they are. Dysfunctional, and that's it to everybody, in a way. I mean, uh, it's because it's the only thing they know how to be, if you will. All right, man. I went on for quite a bit here, but thanks for giving me the space to just air that out a little bit. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to chatting soon. Take care.